Hey guys, so as you know, I stuck the MK10 back on the Wanhao. So today we're going through the conversion, hopefully for the final time. I have here the E3D V6. This is just a clone from eBay, it's not the actual one. So I'm going to go through the install and I'm going to record it from two angles. An angle kind of like this one, a little more zoomed in, and from this GoPro angle. So, let's get started. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is cut the filament way up here, give myself some room to work with. I'm going to leave the filament in the hot end. My thinking on that is if there's plastic in there, dust can't get in. So I should have less problems with jamming if I ever have to put this one back on. Now I'm going to unplug the motor. I'm going to remove the fan. I've already removed the print fan. It's printing with ABS, so I didn't need the fan on the print, so I had it on the extruder for extra cooling. We remove the extruder fan. When you remove your extruder fan, the bolts holding it in are also holding in the motor, but this piece of plastic is also holding it in, so no worries at the moment. Unplug the extruder fan. Now, just like you would when you're loading filament, hit the button on the extruder and pull the filament out. Set that aside, we're going to need that in the new extruder. We're actually going to need most of these parts for the new extruder. So, in the first attempt at switching this over, I put plugs in for my extruder. Or not extruder, the heater for the heater block. Cartridge, that's what they're called. And your thermistor already has a plug. So just go ahead and unplug everything. Move the wires out of the way, if it'll let you. And the Allen keys that came with the Wanhao should actually get all the bolts on here. They're nice enough to include all the sizes you need. Make sure you save all the screws because all your mounting hardware is going to be the same. So here we're off the bottom bearing block. I'm going to remove the bottom two screws for the two top bearing blocks. But you want to be careful when you remove these top two. Those top two are holding in your cable chain and your access switch. Picked up the wrong Allen key. So just go ahead and take the first one off like normal. But this second one, just want to pay attention to when it actually lets go. So like I said, it's holding all this in, and since it's the last one, it's also kind of holding in your extruder tray. Just careful. Slide that out. Of course, don't lose the screw. Now we can take this cable chain and just position it in the back out of the way. That'll make it much easier to work on the belt here. So slide one of your block slot that way, the other one the other way. And now we can actually take the belts off the back of the mount if we don't drop our own keys. So there's one. There's the other. Now, this is the new mount. These two screws are the only two we're not going to actually use. Because if you go with this mount, the holes are much too big for those screws. Which unfortunately makes things a little more difficult than it needed to be. But that's fine. So we're going to take the spring off the belt. That just gives the belt some give, which isn't always a good thing. It's part of the reason you may find waves in some parts. So I'm not going to tighten the belt at this point. That's going to be one of the later things I do. This block goes on pretty much the same way. Just have to be mindful on the bottom block. I can't remember which screws you actually have to put in on the bottom block. We'll get to that because I'll have to put the J-head on to figure out which two aren't in the way. So for these ones we want to do this one on the outside. And then the same over here. The lower one on the outside. And that's going to leave us room to put this back on. So that goes on the middle two, which is why we went on the outside, so that we have a crosswise support, or diagonal support. So that's the top of our mount. Put it back on. I'm going to grab the J-head. Now this fan mount does get in the way. It hits this side. I'm going to find a different fan mount. That'll have to come in a future update. For now I just moved my models a little to the left. We're going to put this on here and figure out which screws, which are the top two. So for the bottom bearing bracket, you want to put the top two screws in. Those two are not going to be in the way of the J-head. Again, you should not lose your screws. now we take the J head, put it in that slot, and we take this curved piece, place it over the J head. We take two M3 nuts and put them in the slots back. We take two M3 nuts and put them in the slots back here. And two M3 bolts right through the front. And try not to lose those nuts. I'm losing these nuts. So there's one of them in. If you guys are lucky, I will have fast forwarded that part. This is probably the most tedious part of this whole thing, especially when you keep losing things. Don't understand why that is not fitting. It fit before. Oh, there's already one in there. How convenient. I'll have to cut a part out of there for sure. So now we're going to grab the original print fan, and that's going to become our extruder fan. Again, we want M3. I think I have two of these threaded. Should be that one and this one. And we just simply put what was our print fan, the 30mm fan, on the J-head mount. And now it's our extruder fan. So when we go to plug these in, we want to remember the 30mm now goes into what I've marked as EF for extruder fan, and the 40mm will go into PF, which was marked for print fan. At this point, I guess we can plug our end stop back in, and we can begin plugging elements of the J-head in. So we've got our thermistor, and we've got our heater. Already got this fan on, so let's plug that one in. And now we're going to put this fan on here. And that's pretty much it. We'll plug this in. That's the extruder installed. But of course now we have to go back and hook up our belt. So, camera angle change, we'll be right back. Okay, here we are at the back of the machine. At this point, we're just going to need some zip ties and some flush cutters or wire snips, whatever you got. I'm going to cut the zip ties off one side of the timing belt. Take the other side of the timing belt. I don't know why I already screwed those in. Should have only screwed one in. I want to see if this will fit through first. It does, so no need to cut this side at all. Take that and thread it into the back. Hopefully. There we go. Tighten it up a bit. Grab the other side, make sure that looks good. Slide's good. Now we want to loop this side up through the bolts in the center. Have tweezers or needle nose or something and get a hold of it. Pull it this way. Try that again. That way. Get a hold of it with something better. Oh, come on. Okay, I really got a hold of it this time. So you want to pull that really tight and try and get a zip tie around it. A little trick I use, I bend the zip tie. Part I know I'm going to cut off anyway. Pull it past one side. Just bring it back. I can see where it was going. There it is. Now I've got a hold of it on this side, sort of. The first one's going to be the difficult one, the second one will be a lot easier. Now you want to start tightening down that zip tie. Also going to slide the carriage to one side and put this here so that it doesn't just pull toward me while I'm tightening it. I can't see what I'm doing this time, so I'm just going to pull it right to this side, I guess. and tighten down the zip tie. Keep good tension on that belt while you're tightening down that zip tie. Make sure the belt's nice and tight. Also make sure they're lined up with the pulleys on the motor. And now grab your second zip tie. Now with 2 free hands, this one should be a lot easier. Loop it around. And tighten it down on the excess of the belt, just to make sure it doesn't come loose. Trim the excess, and that's ready to go. But wait, where's the filament come from? Well, remember in my last video I said I overlooked something? That was the fact that I had to thread this extruder wire, the wire for the extruder motor, all the way through all this cable chain. Thankfully you guys don't have to watch me do that, because I didn't feed it back through, I just zip tied it to the outside of the chain. So, camera angle change again. Okay, so once you've got your extruder wire, or extruder motor wire out, that's your most tedious part, might as well do it first. We want to take our extruder motor and take the screws out of it. We're gonna take the black piece off, and we're not gonna actually use that. So you want to take this screw off first, the one holding in the lever. Careful, hold on to the whole thing tightly. It's sprung. Once that screw is out, it will want to fly. It's an unnecessarily long screw. There it goes. Make sure you don't lose any of these parts. Unless you never plan to go back to the MK10. But it's always good to have a backup. So now we're left with the extruder motor. Now, I have an MK7 hobbed gear, but I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use the one that comes with the extruder motor stock. It's a really nice gear and actually bites a lot better than this one I have here. Same diameter, so the same file will work for both. We're going to take the main part of our extruder, figure out what way you want your wire to come off of it. It's going to sit this way. Yeah, I guess you'd have to mirror it. So if you mirrored it, it would sit that way. But this particular piece is designed to sit this way. So I want my wires coming out the bottom of the motor. Don't drop your motor. If you do, it's not the end of the world. This thing's been dropped a bunch of times already. So your motor is going to take M3 screws to mount, which I happen to have a few right here. And of course these are Phillips head. Luckily I have a Phillips head right here. So once your motor's tightened on there, I guess we can go ahead and put the other piece on. So you pop the lever on here, you're going to need a 608 bearing for that. I'll link all the parts in the description, including my own part. I'll have to upload that to Thingiverse, I guess. Tighten that one down. Make sure it can still move, I guess. So, I couldn't decide how to mount this to the Wanhao. So I went and made a friction mount bracket that allows me to mount it anywhere along the side. Just by putting those two pieces on. And then screwing this on here. I've already gone ahead and filleted a bunch of edges and just made it look nice. So don't worry, it won't look so ugly if you download it. This was still the prototype. You want to tighten that down, and the force of the motor tightening in, the screw tightening the motor in, actually tightens the whole thing onto the frame and keeps it secure. You probably want to put it way higher than that. It's also designed so the back where it hooks around does not interfere with the Z-axis. I take whatever this is called, your hydraulic fitting, or yeah, hydraulic fitting. Hydraulic or pneumatic? Now again, with the captured nut, you want to put that in that slot there. Tighten that in. Don't want to fully tighten that yet, so we're going to have to run some filament through there. And then your tube just goes from there into the end of your hot end. And that is a complete conversion. Now, I'm going to switch out this nozzle. So I'm going to heat this thing up, and since we're here, I'll show you how to change a nozzle on an E3D. Okay, now that it's all heated up, we're gonna grab the block nice and lightly and take a wrench or socket. In this case I have a 7mm socket, and just loosen off the nozzle. Help if we were loosening, not tightening. Now again, we've preheated this to 250 degrees, so watch your fingers. I'm going to go with a 0.4 for now. So this is stock with a Wanhao. The MK10 comes with a 0.4. So, put that on. Grab our little wrench thing here. And give it one more little crank. As you can see, that nozzle is going to come down quite a bit further than this one. So I may have to move my Z-axis switch back down to the original things, even though I'm using... No, wait, it would be. Yeah, it would stay where it is. Just have to tighten the bed more, I guess. Well, let's get leveled and see how she prints. Alright, so that turned out great. There's no stringing at all between any of the holes. I was able to put the bell in it. I printed it with... there's no support on the inside at all, so that turned out great. It's actually been a few days, so I can't remember if I printed with support at all. But yeah, it turned out great. Even if the cat didn't think so. So the main reason I switched the hot end out, besides being able to actually use GoPro footage now and stuff like that, was so that I could print in other materials. Like, I guess I could have already printed in ABS. This is printed in ABS. But I have a roll of polycarbonate here I want to do some experimenting with, and I want to get other filaments in the future. Anyway, I guess that's pretty much it. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up. If you disliked it, hit the thumbs down. If you hit that thumbs down, leave me a comment. Let me know why. Be nice, right? Hit that subscribe button for more. And I have a Patreon campaign running. If you guys feel like contributing to the channel, it goes towards stuff like filament. I'm used a lot of filament. It goes towards stuff like filament, electronics for projects, spare nozzles, just stuff for the channel. I guess that's pretty much it. Have a good one, guys.